Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. We're so happy to have you with us today. Dan Murrell is here.
Happy Cyber Monday, Roth.
Happy Cyber Monday.
I've just looked at it. There's nothing
I
exciting
don't
to me so
actually
far.
know what that means.
It's like Black Friday is the day where people go out to the stores, and Cyber Monday is the day where all the online retailers offer their deals.
All cyber
so you can
each
shop
other.
online.
Well, I've already made my first mistake today by showing up to work. Joe Starr.
How was your small business Saturday?
Damn it.
Oh, that was great too. I did that.
Billy Business. How was your business Saturday?
Ruined. Just ruined.
I hope you guys had a great weekend and you got lots of stuff that you wanted, like our own JTE did. You should check out his haul. It's available for you on Twitter.
He fought a guy with a baby.
And for now, yes, and the baby itself.
For First Blood, right?
Yeah.
Ironically, the last copy of First Blood.
Yeah, it's
He
just
fought a man with a baby.
that is what you call consumerism at its best. And that actually leads us nicely into our first story today, which is about Disney
Fighting a baby.
investing in Hulu. Now, this was actually a couple of weeks ago, but we wanted to talk about it today to do a little update on our streaming wars. Here's what happened. Disney CEO Bob Iger, well, we've been wondering with the launch of the Disney streaming service and the merger with Fox, what was going to happen with Hulu, because they now have a majority stake. Were they just going to shut Hulu down so that they could double down on their own service? No, they are actually going to invest a little bit more in Hulu, according to Bob Iger. They have plans for expanding internationally, which has been the big key, and building up Hulu's original content slate. So I just want to talk about this, pull that out for us, because here's what I extrapolate from that. Hulu's biggest struggle in the marketplace previously has been those licenses, which mean that it can only impact the United States and domestically and not internationally, versus Netflix, who has made such huge strides internationally. They're all over the world. I think they're in all but 5 countries, maybe. Tell me if comments. If Hulu has these licenses available internationally, and they're talking about things that Fox owns, like the FX shows and so on and so forth, there's maybe a 2-part strategy on Disney's part. One, keep the Disney streaming service very identifiable, meaning very clear in terms of the brand identity. 2, come at Netflix from 2 different places. If they can get Hulu, these shows internationally, they're coming at Netflix from here, and they double down on original programming, they can have sort of more adult programming on Hulu, and they're coming at Netflix from here and here with the Disney streaming service. That's my tinfoil hat theory. Business?
Yeah, well, I mean, the international part, that's key, like you said,
Yeah.
because even Netflix, they were having some kind of growing pains domestically, because if you want Netflix, you have it by now.
Yeah.
But when they opened it up internationally, that's when they started doing really well the last couple of years. With Hulu, yeah, they're kind of hamstrung by what they can do, but 60% ownership, then you start going after your different licenses internationally. Like Hulu, no one knows what the hell Hulu is most around the world. They just don't use it.
That's how I watch my Gordon Ramsay.
That's how I used to watch. Yeah. But I do think that you're right, because they are also talking about bundling Hulu with like ESPN Plus or Hulu plus Disney Plus. So it's almost like you have your like adult and kid stuff like, together.
And it's a clean sort of keeping Disney clean. But what do you think? Do you think one of the motivations is coming after Netflix?
I mean, no one's. Oh, I say this is a dumb. I was going to say no one's going to take down Netflix, but then like 5 years later,
I don't
Netflix-
agree. I think someone is.
Right now, Netflix looks invincible, but nothing is ever invincible. Disney's going to own a 60% stake in Hulu once this deal is closed. So for me, I'm thinking they're going to make obviously a very strong play on the film and original content standpoint as far as their brands with Disney Plus, and they're now in a position to make a very strong play internationally with television and other original programming that might not fit Disney. Handmaid's Tale, not a good fit for Disney Plus. Works on Hulu. This makes sense to me. It's still crazy to me that they are going to be able to run essentially 2 major competing streaming networks that they can then bundle together. It's like owning Boardwalk.
Yeah.
And what's the other Park Place? Yeah. There's not like a name for that.
Is there a word for that? If you were a shoe?
Sorry.
Okay.
You're right.
Is the
Connect 4.
Chutes and ladders.
So this just gives them the capability to have, let's say, a competitive advantage over some other companies that might not have those resources to compete on multiple fronts. They are. We thought that they were already as big as they could get, and they're about to get much bigger.
You made such a good point. I think about the idea that Netflix currently looks invincible, but I don't know, Joe. What do you think? I feel like
I think call him a shot. Between the next 5 and 10 years, Jeff Bezos is going to buy Netflix. I think that's your next move as Hulu gets consolidated into Disney, because I think you're right. They're sort of doing a little pincer, like that's when the attack comes, not from the front, but from the side, from the 2 streaming services you didn't even know were there.
Clever piece.
And so I think Bezos is going to buy Netflix. 5-10 years, you'll be able to, I don't know, pick up your Netflix DVDs from Whole Foods. But yeah, that's the move I definitely see coming.
Netflix Prime?
Netflix Prime.
That sounds like a monster. Netflix Prime is coming for you.
It looks like Optimus, but he's covered in spikes,
Yes.
like Lovecraftian spikes. Yeah, and then the only other thought that Dan just put in my head was I can't wait until Disney remakes Handmaid's Tale with Robin Hood style foxes and animals.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's the good fit. Like Handmaid's Tale as it exists for Disney Plus, no, but once you put adorable animals in those roles.
Yeah, and I also want to see their version of Sunny. I just want to see the Disney-fied version of all of the things. I don't want that, and nobody does. So I think this is a smart move on their part for a number of reasons. But that's interesting, Joe, because Amazon traditionally, their whole thing has been they're willing to spend erratically, and they're willing to spend nonsensically in order to own the market share. So they will do anything to shut down their competition. I was listening to a report about this with diapers.com. They wanted to buy diapers.com. So diapers wasn't selling to them. So they put on this they put on this sale via Amazon
Jim
for
Diapers
parents.
built this company on his
for,
own.
for parents. And then they basically drove diapers.com out of business by losing millions of dollars on their own just to do that. So they will go to those crazy lengths, but we haven't even talked about Apple yet, which is coming.
Dude, Apple is the dark horse in all of this because they clearly already have like premium content ready to go. There's that whole like Jennifer Aniston series.
Oh, yeah.
Like they have,
And the partnership with A24.
Right. But no one really knows what their attack plan is going to be. I don't know.
But haven't they announced that their original content is going to be not very family friendly? I'd have to. There's so many now, but I thought Apple had sort of said, "Oh, our original content is going to be more for all audiences." So that's certainly a strategy. But my big is like, yeah, how does Apple fit together with all of this? And then with Hulu, with Disney having 60% of it, they have people that are going to have shows technically available for Hulu that are competing with them, like Warner is going to have their own streaming service, but I wonder, like, could they use their 60% service to not license any of Warner's shows on Hulu? So now none of Warner's shows are available, which, like, this is going to get real messy. But yeah, now the Apple.
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
It either gets messy or it gets real boys clubby, where like they sort of pop into the Warner office and they're like, "Hey, let's make ourselves a deal," and you know, it's just a couple guys at the top sort of shaking hands and smoking cigars and smiling and going to see that burning owl effigy in the middle of the woods in Northern California.
This feels like season 7 of Game of Thrones because
Yeah,
literally
definitely.
every multi-billion-dollar corporation that you've heard of are all about to go to war with each other.
Okay, somebody name the houses. Like, who's Amazon? Who's Apple? Apple, to me, is the one, I agree with you, Billy. This is the dark horse that's coming in that has, if we're going to use Game of Thrones, that has more money, a bigger army, more power than any of these other companies. But in terms of spending, Billy, but what they don't have is the platform. They do not have a platform with brand recognition the way that Netflix and Disney do for entertainment in terms of creating original entertainment. That's, I think, their challenge. And then add to that is, are they going to be sticklers about forcing us to buy Apple products? Meaning, in order to watch your shows, do I have to have an Apple TV? Because that's going to extraordinarily cut down on their options.
They're the Tyrells. All
Are
the
they the
money and the
Tyrells?
resources, but none of the experience.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's a very good point.
Bezos is definitely Daenerys, just buying up mercenary
And,
companies
like,
left and
burning
right,
things,
and like
burning
just
out all of
burning
the
as she
enemies.
goes. Yeah.
That's true. Billy?
So I guess that makes Disney the
They're the Lannisters.
They're the
Yeah, the
Lannisters.
Lannisters,
right?
Like,
Yeah.
very clearly the
Yeah,
Lannisters.
Hulu is the Starks. They're
Yeah.
about to
Oh.
get absorbed.
Yeah, that's true.
It was absolutely the Starks. That's so sad.
But it's making me think, like, why didn't Apple just buy Netflix?
I don't know. I wish it doesn't make any sense.
That's the
to
question, because it's like you could have absorbed their debt in a day.
Like that.
Yeah. And then already had the distribution there and the name brand for originals that people now when you think of Netflix, you think originals. You almost don't even think about like the licensed content that they have. I almost wonder if that's Netflix eventually. They're just gonna be like, we don't need licensed content.
I think that is their ultimate plan, but it owned and operated is so much cleaner. But it is a question I have about Apple too, and are they just too stubborn in terms of wanting to be so committed to the Apple identity only and the Apple products only? And is that what's going to make it? Because otherwise they have so much more money. It's like, no problem. We can keep going. You want to keep going? Let's keep going.
But correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be very wrong. But didn't they like buy Beats by Dre?
Apple?
did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're not opposed to acquiring
Well,
a brand that can do something better than they can,
But
right?
Apple thus far is a product company.
Yeah.
Like their stockholders and their investors, like if you look at the stock price on Apple, it falls when their sales of iPhones and everything fail. So I wonder if as a publicly traded company, I don't know if their stockholders would have approved a $500 billion investment in something like Netflix, because this is a different avenue for them. They're sort of in the content distribution a little bit with iTunes, but they're not making that content. They're just taking a cut from people buying different songs. So they're a software and hardware company. So that's where my thing is going to be, is like they're building an infrastructure from they're essentially 10 years behind everybody else, or definitely 10 years behind Netflix, in the sense of like building an original content team, a distribution platform, all of that stuff. That's going to be what's interesting to me, is like they're going to have to learn ahead of the curve because everyone else is already there.
And they're following a really similar model in terms of coming out with this, like, we have the return of Jennifer Aniston to television, these like premier television shows and these series, but then also partnering with A24, which a lot of, if you think about Netflix and Amazon, they were going after independent films and like at Sundance and things like that for some of these prestige plays. So it's actually a similar model, seemingly so far. I just wonder, how are they going to get ahead of it?
You know what's weird is like, screener season started. And
Yes.
and it's like...
Have I told you that we're best friends lately? Good.
Very much so. But it's like, usually you get your Paramounts and your Sonys, and in like a couple of years it's going to be like, because you already get some of them, you're going to get your Netflix, your Amazons, your Apples. Netflix, by the way, sends DVDs. How
They do.
weird is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And wasteful.
Yep.
Super weird.
Yeah.
It's like
give
really
codes.
expensive pack. You're like, man, that could have been a Christmas bonus for somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
They're
just
nice
send me a
display
code.
pieces. I mean,
Yeah.
they're pretty.
They seem to be spending, like, just the money hose is completely open. Oh, it's going to be an interesting 5 years.
Amazon
you
did that
guys.
with their shows too. They sent like Jack Ryan and everything.
Yeah.
I thought we were past that, but Jack Ryan.
No, we're not.
That's the thing. If Amazon, if they were to take over, like you said, one of these services, we're gonna get Jack Ryan level marketing for everything. I couldn't go 5 feet
No,
that week
John
without
Krasinski
seeing,
was staring at me from every flat
Everywhere.
surface of the city, every bus, every billboard, every building.
He was like
My car
Every
somehow.
web page
He
was
like
taken
the
over.
Grinch, but patriotic.
But the thing is, Amazon can't do even if they did that move with Netflix, they can't do the strategy. I don't know what that would even cost, or if they can even begin to do that. But what they can't do is own the market. They can't, the way they can with other products. They can't shut down any competition, because they can't do that to Apple. They certainly aren't going to buy Disney Fox. It's just going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Disney Fox, the Lion King teaser trailer happened while we were away eating food and napping during Goblin Nap and hiding the chalice.
Yes.
I hope
Snuffing
you
the
guys-
torch on the 11th hour.
Yeah.
That's right.
I hope everybody got their children back. you were able to call them from the realms. But that aside, what did you think of the teaser, Dan Murrell?
Oh, great, me first.
Yeah.
I know everybody went crazy over this. It had like the second most views of any trailer. The footage looks cool, but it's exactly the movie that already exists.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that's I'm tired of people talking about, but it is. It's exact. Maybe the movie itself will be different, but like that is.
He's so cute, though.
But he's cute. It's a cute cartoon, and he's a cute
movie,
CG.
yeah.
Like this is gonna make all the money. I'm sure I'll enjoy it, maybe, but it's the exact like shot for shot. This is a personal preference thing. Yeah. I've seen The Lion King. I love it. I love The Lion King. That's a very cute kitty.
I'm with you, dude.
I just like
I'm with you too until I see the kitty, and then I'm
the
like,
cat is very cute, and that's $1 billion. Put that up, JT. Have you ever seen $1 billion cat
kitty
before?
Oh!
That is $1 billion cat right there.
Like I'm getting that plushie.
So nothing that I say will make any difference, and I look forward to sitting through the same movie that I've seen many, many times over, but in a different format. It's like the cover of a great rock song. Okay, I like the original, but sure,
but they
someone else can
slowed
do
it
it
down this time, Dan.
Yeah, yeah, it's sure, you know, that's The Lion King. That's my review. That's The Lion King.
Yep, sure is the movie that we've
It's true.
seen.
And what's interesting is Julie Taymor with the play was able to do something very unique and very different, and taking it. I'm surprised at how shot for shot it was. Were you, Joe?
I was disappointed in how shot for shot it was. I did sort of think they would split the difference a little bit, where it's like, hey, Cinderella was kind of its own thing. Beauty and the Beast was pretty much shot for shot with like an added bad song. I was hoping they'd like go a little down, like here's some stuff you remember, but here's the promise of some new things, like Nala's hey, here's my extra song, or like, you know, whatever.
Maybe that's to come.
Oh, that's Disney.
Shut it down. They're helicoptering. Okay, we're about to be killed. Okay.
Iger's very mad. Iger mad. Yeah, everybody lost their minds, and so I was really excited to watch the trailer, and then I was like, I've literally seen this trailer before. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I hope that they tease different thing. I would love a new flavor of the Lion. Jungle Book, I liked a lot because it was the basics of that story. Yeah. But they expounded on it and did some cool things with it.
Mowgli?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So I hope that that's what Favreau does with this, and they're just doing this to give people that nostalgia hit, like, oh, put it in my vein. That thing I already know that I like.
A little different.
But
you're gonna like it again.
Yeah. I just that for me is like I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's the movie that I've seen and remember.
And look, the idea of Donald Glover and Beyonce singing Lion King songs is awesome to me. They could have just released an album for so much cheaper that would have made exactly as much money.
Yeah.
Like, so much money. And it would have saved Disney a lot.
Billy, you've said very little. I know that you'll go see this with your niece. I believe Scar
will.
is her favorite character.
Scar is her favorite Disney
That's
character.
a
She's
choice.
a little murderer.
Yeah.
We love her.
Look, I think this could go obviously one of two ways: Beauty and the Beast or Jungle Book. I hope it leans more towards Jungle Book, where at least from the cartoon, Jungle Book like has a completely different ending. It takes turns that the cartoon didn't. I hope this does the same thing. But the one thing that's bothered me about Lion King since we announced this thing, everyone else is different except James Earl Jones, and it drives me insane. Like, if you're going to do it different, you can't go 98% different, especially when that 2% was like such an integral 2% of what made the original. Like, did you just have him read the same thing again? Like, that's got to be boring for him too.
What if they didn't even?
If it's literally
If it's
just
literally
like the
just
same.
the same,
Look,
yeah.
I've said for
Would
years.
we ever really know?
Would we know, Billy?
I've said for years that if Disney is as smart as I think they are, they should get James Earl Jones in a VO booth and just record the phone book.
Yeah.
So you can do all this kind of like Star Wars.
I am your
Because don't they have that program now?
grandfather.
Right?
Yeah,
They have that program
they're
now.
able to sort of Roger Ebert, rest in peace, before he passed, was working on, somebody had gone through and taken all of his recorded interviews and made a program for him so that he could type something and it would say in his own voice what he was typing. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was. They are experimenting with the idea of just like recording a vast amount of voice work that you can then manipulate, and then sounds
you could basically
flawless.
just do that.
That definitely couldn't be exploited.
There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see that going awry.
I like the idea of James Earl Jones like that Dana Carvey SNL sketch where he's
Gerald Ford. He's
going on vacation, so he has to read all the possible headlines that could happen. I just like the idea of Disney having James Earl Jones in a booth. Like, now this is in case Darth Vader meets Optimus Prime and Captain America.
They definitely should. I would have him record everything, even though he sounds a little bit like tired Vader now. I would still have him do it, just because you never know.
Just because that program's going to come in handy someday.
It really does bother me that everyone else in that cast is different except for him.
Mr. Jones, this is if we do 101 Dalmatians, but we gender swap Gorilla DeVille. Get me those puppies.
Cruel devil.
Well, what it is that eventually when an AI takes over the world, it'll use the voice of James Earl Jones to sort of soothe us into submission.
That would work for me.
Yeah, I'd be like, you know what, sure.
All right, take over. Although I don't know if the voice of Vader would be all that soothing when we're talking about an end of the world scenario, but maybe I'm wrong in that. As to end of days, The Walking Dead. There's a Walking Dead star that was killed off the show that is super happy that happened. Now, these are major spoilers for The Walking Dead.
Big spoilers.
If you care.
Big spoilers. There it is.
There we go.
All right. Last night's, I'm not watching the show, so this is how I keep track of what's going on in The Walking Dead. Fan favorite, I just take that on face value, is that right?
His character is much loved.
People were very excited when he showed up.
Very excited.
Well, yeah, but from the books, but on the show, was he a fan favorite?
I think he's very charming. He was charming.
He's a good actor.
So Jesus was stabbed by one of the Whisperers. And in speaking about it, actor Tom Payne said he's more than happy to be gone. He says, this is via The Hollywood Reporter, "They were aware I wouldn't be unhappy if they got rid of me. I expressed unhappiness last season. I was very frustrated with what the character had been doing. He arrived in a very cool way, and then he floundered. He's the most capable member of the entire group, and he wasn't used at all on the show. In the background, I was training every single week. I was ready and raring to go. You can't help but feel a little bit despondent when you're not released to do some cool stuff. It was mutual, and they know I would be okay with it. It was an amazing show, and I was honored to be a part of it, but at the same time, being the character without anything fun to do is a bit frustrating." Thoughts?
Yeah. He's right. Naturally, I'm 2 weeks behind on The Walking Dead, so the one time I'm not caught up is when. So I can't speak to his demise, but I can definitely speak to what he was saying. Jesus was introduced as like this almost unkillable, uncatchable ninja. Like and I believe it was Rick and Daryl played this amazing game of like gotcha, where he's like jumping on top of trucks and jumping off stuff and like running away, and like he's like this sort of like superhero guy who can infiltrate anywhere and do anything. And he's right. They as this show does, they are obsessed with introducing new characters. Just more than they ever could know, because they come from the comic and they want to, I guess, throw every character into the comic, but now there's even more. They are obsessed with introducing new characters, but at the expense of not knowing what to do with the characters they have. So they either kill them off or they just sort of disappear into the background. Carol has disappeared for like seasons at a time. Daryl has disappeared for episodes at a time. Rick was only in half the episodes before he left the show. T-Dog famously just, they had no idea what to do with him. Beyond the core cast that they started with, they all had good stories, good arcs. Dale and Carol and Shane and Rick and Lori, like they all had character dynamics, and then you introduce the farm and Maggie and Herschel, and they all start. But I'm with him. Jesus was set up to be this awesome character, and he literally just kind of stood around all the time, if he showed up at all. They sort of tried to set up this thing at the end of last season with Maggie, where like now he's going to be sort of an antagonist, and then they come back and they seems like they forgot about that entire setup. Yeah, he's right. They introduced him and then they completely forgot about him, just like they forget about 50% of the people they introduce on the show are just literal like high-paid background extras within half a season.
Are you guys watching it all or no?
I watched. I I finished last season. I haven't watched any this season, but it is funny to me that it used to be when an actor left this show, it was a very emotional time for them, the dinners, and just talking to a lot of these people in the convention time, it was, even when they were off it was still such a big part of their lives. Then it kind of slowed down a little bit in the last couple of years. It's been kind of like a little bit more quiet of an exit. Like, yeah, it was time to move on, but I'm really going to miss it. And now I feel like this is the first one where it's like, no, if you're still there, you don't like it, but you're just getting that paycheck. Like, I'm very surprised to hear one of these cast members, because they always talk about, like, we're a family, to just come and be like, yeah, I was really bored. I don't like it. Like, I don't know if this is going to help or hurt his career or if it even matter, but I just feel like it's definitely not going to help a Jesus flashback in a season or two.
Well,
a flashback to all the cool stuff he did not do.
Yeah, seriously. Well, what also is like a slap in the face, I guess, is in the comics he's got this cool samurai bun and does the samurai shit, and they just started giving it to him.
And then they're like, never mind. I wonder if this speaks to kind of an overall direction now that Rick is leaving the show to do the movies and so forth like that. And he's on the helicopter to some island, I assume.
To do the movies.
What if he just lands in Lost?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be awesome.
Like the series.
And I'd be right back on board.
Like they digitally... Just like literally, they just put him in the show Lost.
Two shows
somehow.
that have no idea where they're going or what to do.
True.
I love Lost.
Two high concept shows that lost the ball in the middle somewhere.
I loved Lost, and I'm one of the few that like the finale was everything that I needed it to be and more.
Yeah,
so if Rick just showed up, I'd be like, well, we're rewatching this with Rick in it.
Lost won me back when they figured out what the hell the show was going to be, when they like just floundered for a season and a half, and then they're like, flash forward. And then they could tell two stories at once, which is what saved that show, because they were able to slow down time on the island and also introduce mystery, and that, I think, helped them coast to the end. But this show is just like...
There is no end to this show either.
No
At least
end.
with Lost, it was like 6 and you're done. This...
And I love that AMC did the thing. They did the Netflix can't be killed thing. Just like, this show's gonna run for 20 years. It'll never wane in popularity. And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of does when it feels like the network has no idea of where it's going, and they're just taking for granted that people are gonna watch it.
I mean, I think it's been a clear success for them financially, despite all of the lawsuits.
It'll continue to be.
And it will hopefully, for their sake, continue to be. But yeah, this is speaking to them sort of trimming down in order to have better character arcs moving forward.
I also think too, like when people are like, "Oh, Walking Dead, it is dead." It's like, well, maybe compared to its old self, but it's still probably the highest rated thing on AMC. So it's not going away.
I haven't seen how this ends, so this may have already happened. So if it happened, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, but. There is an event in the comics that is concurrent around to this timeline. I suspect maybe it happened last night, that opens the door for a huge culling of characters. And I am very curious to see, number one, if they took that opportunity, and if they didn't, are they going to in the future? Because I think that could very much help the show. It would, one, give them a very shocking turn of events, and number two, you could really cull down the cast, but they're not going to do that because they literally just added Jacob Kowalski and like 3 other people.
Oh yeah, that's
literally
true.
out of nowhere 3 weeks ago. So they're just going to continue to grow.
What if he's his character from Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah, that's true. And maybe he's gone now too. That's the thing. I wish I was watching an Honest Trailer movie last night. It was very long, and I didn't get a chance to watch Walking Dead.
Oh.
Maybe he's already gone, but.
Well, let us know are you still watching The Walking Dead? I presume if you're still watching this, you're still watching The Walking Dead. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Is Disney going hard for Netflix? Is it going to be Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Fox moving forward? What are all the things? We have Charting with Dan later today. We're going to talk about that Thanksgiving weekend box office.
So many
to talk
charts.
About.
So much.
So much money.
So much monies. Records broken.
Yeah.
By
Ralph's
animated
wrecking.
and live action films. Robin's not taking from the rich.
Not taking flight.
Robbins did not hood.
Robin's failing to launch, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Yikes. Yikes. Golly, what a day.
Lots to talk about. Honest Trailers commentaries tomorrow, and on Wednesday morning, very bright and early, we will have a review of Into the Spider-Verse. So look forward to those things, and we will see you tomorrow. Happy